It's long been a consensus in Westminster that a disastrous set of election results in May will result in, at the least, a challenge to Sir Keir Starmer's leadership, and at the most, the end of Sir Keir Starmer's leadership. In May, every seat in the Welsh Parliament will be up for election. Last night, just one was, in Caerphilly, and voters roundly rejected the Labour Party, embracing Plaid Cymru and Reform UK instead. Last week, I travelled to Caerphilly to get a sense of what decisions people would be making.
I think it's time for a change. I mean, not that I think Labour's a particularly bad party. I just think maybe a party that's been in power for so long is neglecting the issues of the people.
Oh yeah, quoting about Keir Starmer, he just makes nail. He's like, have you seen him? There's nothing in him.
There's no improvements going on in Caerphilly. It's being run down and run down and run down.
I think people are getting bored of it. Like, my philosophy is, and this is as crazy as you think, but put real people in there. Put people who are paid minimum wage in there to make decisions, and people that are actually on minimum wage and above, and people that actually care.
And I wanted to find out if what was being felt in Caerphilly was being mirrored elsewhere in Wales.
I don't think Labour are doing enough here. Need change, you know what I mean? They keep saying about change, Farage only, but, you know, I don't think Reform will do much for Wales, but I think Plaid Cymru might.
I know Keir Starmer is quite useless, but Labour is just acclimatised with Wales anyway, so I don't have to worry about, like, Tories or Reform.
People are kind of turning away from Welsh Labour because they messed up the NHS and that, and you know, people are going to these new populist parties like Reform. There's no good political party for Wales at the minute, I find. You know, you don't want to vote the Tories because austerity. You don't want to vote Labour because what's going on now. You don't want to vote Reform because they're not for people. So like the only option is like Plaid Cymru.
Nigel Farage, Jesus. If he gets into Wales, it would, to be honest, for the Welsh, be horrendous.
Controversial, but I'm going with Reform. I've got
Why?
to. Because I think they're the only ones, or one of the only ones we haven't tried. And I just think we may as well just give them a try and see if they can do any better.
Do you think people feel fed up?
Sometimes, yeah, it can get to people. I think that mental health is a huge factor here as well that we need to address, and there needs to be more services to support that.
After visiting Barry, Port Talbot, Carmarthen, Cardiff and Wrexham, it was difficult to find anyone committed to voting Labour. YouTuber and former shoplifter Cullen Mace explained why.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah. Quite you just come up to me and say my mum's a big fan. I think there's people are fed up of Labour. They are sick and tired of it. Everyone voted Labour, literally. Like, I voted Labour, my family voted Labour, and you know, my grandparents and so on. And up the valleys especially, Labour has always been a stronghold that people are just sick of. People who are voting for Reform are kind of labelled as this like far right kind of, you know, these racist people, and you know, the people I speak to in the valleys are certainly not far right whatsoever. I am a nationalist as well, though. I am very proud of my Welsh heritage, and I would love to think that Plaid were the answer, but it's not what I'm seeing either. I feel like, you know, Plaid are the same as Labour, really. They've piggybacked on the back of them, you know, for 50 years as well, I would say.
In Carmarthen, this long-time farmer talked about some of the difficulties his industry has faced.
They're not bothered. They're not bothered with anything, are they? Are you coming? Not really, not unless you've got something to give, say. Like a politician. I get the feeling at the moment from a lot of my associates that they feel that Welsh government in many areas have not been helpful to farmers. I've been to see some farmers who have had real worry and angst about the inheritance tax, where they'd be very lucky to live 7 years to gift it, and some of the bills that are facing them is over £1 million.
And then we realised it might be better to discuss Welsh politics on a tractor.
Off you go. Should be in gear. No? You are. Well done. I'm impressed.
Where's the brake? This
Turn
one?
it around. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, put your foot on the clutch and
Down?
I'll put you in a different gear. Yeah, I'll put you in a slower gear. All right? Right, okay. Try that. There's your throttle, your hand throttle.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Okay.
So do you know who you're going to vote for?
I don't. I honestly don't.
Who have you voted for before?
I think I have voted for all the parties. I think it's highly unlikely I will vote Labour.
Have you voted for
I
Labour
think
before?
I have, yes, I have. I just feel like everybody else, it's time for a change. I asked the guy from Reform what he'd do if he got power up at the Royal Welsh Show. What's the first piece of legislation you would look at and consider whether it is effective? And he said the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, which I thought, well, that really isn't what I was after. I don't know. Whilst it's annoyed a lot of people, it isn't really a game changer, is it? You know, it's not going to do anything. So I don't know, and I think there's a way to go on the manifestos and see where it is. But Keir hasn't done us any favours, because we had a manifesto that clearly said there wouldn't be a tax on vans, and that's the first thing they did was chuck it out. Pull it out, hard as you can.
That's great fun. After my whistle-stop tour of some of Wales, I asked First Minister Leonard Morgan whether she was surprised how few people I found voting for her party. She was speaking before the by-election result last night.
Well, it's a pretty small sample, and I think the key thing to remember is that we're in a period at the moment where people are still struggling with their bills, they're struggling with cost of living, and, you know, they are looking for answers. I guess, you know, let's remember, you know, a year ago, Labour had a landslide victory in the Westminster elections. We've been in power here for 26 years, and, you know, they are looking for quicker answers than are coming. And I guess that's what the pressure on us now is, to get those answers to them quicker.
No, I do appreciate it's an extremely small sample, but people are not hearing it. Is it the fault of the Westminster government?
Look, we've all got to take a bit of responsibility here. And you know, the Welsh Government, clearly, we've been in power for a long time. We've got to remind them of what they've had from us.
And how much do you think this is, or could be perceived as, a confidence vote on Sir Keir Starmer's leadership in next May, and also this by-election on Thursday?
Look, I think we'll all have questions to answer, but we're not there, and I'm not accepting that that's where we're at. I think the by-election is going to be tough, but I do think that there's that we have an opportunity and time to make sure that we can turn things round by May next year.
Okay. Is Sir Keir Starmer an asset on the campaign trail? Because it was asked at PMQs today, I don't know whether you watched it, but Liz Saville-Roberts asked, why hasn't Sir Keir Starmer been here? Why hasn't he been on the campaign trail in Caerphilly?
Well, this is a Welsh election. It's a
you
Welsh,
don't want him here?
It's a Welsh Senedd election, right? That's the nature of the thing. You know, he didn't ask me to come and help him campaign in his Westminster election. You know, this is the way things work. It's called devolution. That's cool. We're comfortable with that. I'm the leader of Labour in Wales, not Keir Starmer.
Okay, so you don't actually want him here at all, really, until next May?
Hey, listen, he's part of my family, and that's good. But, you know, we do things differently in Wales. Keir Starmer's cool about all this. He understands devolution. He understands that we're going to chart our own course because things are different. Like, our manufacturing base is much, much bigger than it is in England. So, you know, the kind of pressures we have, the economy that we have is really different from England.
Does he understand Wales?
He understands, listen, he's got to understand the whole of the United Kingdom. So he does understand that there's a difference, and we've certainly been talking to him about things like the impact of US tariffs on Wales is very different from the impact in England.
Forgive me, I don't think you explicitly answered my question. Does he understand Wales?
Yeah, I think he understands Wales. He certainly understands it better than Nigel Farage, who wants to put people back down the pits and reopen blast furnaces that have already cooled down. So he's got a much better understanding than Nigel Farage, I can assure you.
Okay, but I think from what you're saying, that doesn't say a huge amount from where you're standing.
Well, hang on a minute. I'm the person who's in charge in Wales, not Keir Starmer. I understand Wales, And part of my job is to interpret Wales for Keir Starmer so that he understands what he can do to help us. And he is.
Speaking last week too, the Plaid Cymru leader said he didn't think next May would be about giving the Westminster government a bloody nose.
It's interesting, I've heard Reform talking in the context of Caerphilly. Yeah, this is a good chance. And next May's election, this is a good chance to send Westminster a message. Why on earth would we want to use elections that are about building health services and raising education standards and strengthening the economy as a means to send a message to Westminster? Wales is more important than that, and I think that reflects pretty badly on Reform. Having said that, there's clear and deep disillusionment with the actions of Keir Starmer since becoming Prime Minister.
The majority of people I spoke to in Wales wanted something different, even if it wasn't completely clear what that might look like yet. First Minister Llŷr Powell says she's got an opportunity and time to turn things around before May next year. But as one senior Welsh Labour source said, if they're not voting Labour here, where are they voting Labour? A question presumably that will be haunting Labour strategists today.